Shabbat Shalom, Mishpacha. This is Rabbi Simon, and we are going to discuss a few things that are going to be extremely helpful to you and beneficial, and will take you a long, long way. Practice makes perfect. Habits make good men and good women. Habits. Now, if you have bad habits, then of course it's the reverse. Now, before I continue, I wanted to give you a little synopsis of what's going on, and you may have seen it on your media, on screens, that the war with Russia continues between Ukraine and Russia. The war in the Middle East continues. Now, the war in the Middle East is really set a precedence. It's really never been like this. That, I didn't think 20 years ago that I would be explaining to you live commentary on what I have written. That's how I feel about it. And it's interesting, although I don't think I wrote it about 20 years ago. I think I wrote it around 2001, 2003, 2004, 2005. So give and take 14, 15 years around that time period. What I've written is right now, most of it started to occur in front of my eyes in the Middle East. And it's just extremely, how do you say it? I'm grateful that God is, showing me these things. I'm very grateful that I'm seeing these things and beginning to get even more understanding of what I've written and what I didn't write. There was things that you can write and there's things you don't write because the audience at the time would not be able to accept it or grasp it. Both were present, because I'm talking about the period in 2003, 2004 period, when everybody and their dog was only interested in the Antichrist coming out of Europe, the Pope, and those kind of things. Every pastor I know that was on God TV, Christian Broadcasting Network, and others were all talking about this person, the beast, the 10 toes being European Union. Well, the European Union grew from 10 toes to, I don't know, it's 28, 29, even 30 countries now in Europe. Ukraine is trying to get in, and you got other, Eastern European nations. And so I think we've gone, European Union now is a lot more countries than what they were predicting, that it's only going to be 10 toes, and out of there will come the Antichrist. And we know that was totally not true. And today we are definitely, I don't think that most of those pastors today, I don't listen to them, of course. Presently, I think there's 28 countries, and that probably will expand further. Now, I don't listen to them, so I don't know. I don't think even many of those pastors today are even repentant of their mistakes that they've been teaching. They've been writing books. They've been handing out tapes in the old days, CDs and whatnot. And I can assure you that a majority of those pastors are unrepentant. And I can even tell you that John Hagee, who was a major speaker and pastor and supporter of Israel in the old days, probably still is, but in the old days, he would make wild predictions of, red moons and all that. Back in 2012, you would have read books and books and books. And again, none of that was true. It was all pure, I'm sorry to say, erroneous, if I can put it mildly, and garbage, if I put it bluntly. So a lot of it was just not true, didn't come to pass. Now, I spoke to you about Jeremiah the prophet, and none of these people even looked at Jeremiah the prophet. They don't know him. They don't care about him. All they care about is shining their ministries, shining their ministries and trying to be true of what they are teaching. And unfortunately, majority of the time, it wasn't the case. So this is why I just don't go there any longer. I don't these days. I don't speak too much about prophecy, but because it's happening in front of our eyes, I think it's a good point to speak. I remember speaking to a Christian woman years ago, and we were in Israel, and the lady, we were talking about Europe, and she said, "Oh, Europe is in a decline," and I said, "Yes, it is." Spiritually, she was speaking about Europe is in a spiritual decline. Churches are empty, and people are not interested in spirituality. They're interested in other things. And then I told her that, I think I gave her one of my books, and she read it, and she said, "It's very interesting that you speak about UK and America being the two countries." And she was an American. She said, "It's very interesting you speak about those two countries coming together in the end of days. Like, that these battles are going to take place in the Middle East. I'm surprised that you said that those two countries are coming together, because I thought that both of those countries were so degenerate that I didn't think they could ever come together." And look, in 2023 and 24, this is 2024 now. Look, the two countries that came together and are fighting with the Yemen people, Yemen fighters in the Middle East Red Sea. Look at it. Now do you see what I wrote and how powerful that was? The names I mentioned back then, Red Sea, Straits of Hormuz, and then Egypt, and then other countries, Saudi Arabia, and so on and so forth, all those names are right in front of your eyes. And there are two ways to see the prophecy in Revelation 18, and I showed you one side of it, but there is now another side that has appeared, which is interesting to see, because a lot of the time we tend to ignore, if ignore is the right word, or maybe don't pay attention to what the book of Revelation has said. Now, it talks about verse 9, in chapter 18 of verse 9, "And the kings of the earth who committed sexual immorality and lived in luxury with her will weep and wail over her when they see the smoke of her burning." Of course, I don't want to speak about the city that I mentioned in the book, but I do want to speak about another city, Jerusalem. Now, a lot of the people at the time, of course, Saudi Arabia is an extremely wealthy country, and a lot of people live in luxury over there, as you know. But equally speaking, would you not say that people who live in Israel, certain parts of certain cities, have certain kinds of homes and certain kinds of luxuries? Would you not say that they live in luxury? I'm not talking about the ordinary people in Israel. I'm talking about their leaders. And I'm talking about the leaders' homes and how they have built mansions in America, and how they have mansions in Europe, and how in Israel they have, choicest parts of the land. Would that not be classified as luxury? Of course it is. Many billionaires over there who are doing that. But who are the people who are crying in the Middle East today? The ones who are getting their ships blown up in the waters, a goods ship, containers, which has got thousands of containers on it, it's blown out of the waters worth billions of dollars. Who will be crying? Because the insurances won't pay. The insurances might pay for a natural disaster, maybe a ship struck a rock, or I don't know, maybe there was a storm and the ship sunk, and they pay for that. But are they going to pay for Yemen fighters blowing the ship out of the waters with a missile? I don't think so. So who's going to be crying? Think about that for a second. "And the kings of the earth who committed sexual immorality and lived in luxury with her." This her is in two part. one part of it actually belongs to Israel and the other part belongs to Saudi Arabia. These are two parts. This is a two-part prophecy that I've never spoken about before and never said it was a two-part, but it is actually a two-part. Babylon is not just Iraq. Babylon is both a system, a people, and it's a methodology. So the great city doesn't necessarily mean that it's talking about one city. Which is a great city? Well, tell me, which is a great city? There's only, let's say 3 cities. There's 3 cities in the world where people revere. Okay, the Catholic people, they revere Rome. The Muslim people, they revere Mecca in Saudi Arabia. The Christians and Jews, they revere Jerusalem. So, now tell me, out of these 3 cities, which is the city that's spoken about here, the great city? You might cite, it says, alas, alas, you great city, you mighty city, Babylon. For in a single hour your judgment has come. Now, I don't want to speak about, I'm going to put Israel to the forefront because that's where the problems are and that's where things are happening. Not so much in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia's got no part in it right now. It's kind of in the behind the scenes. So, alas, alas, you great city, you mighty city, Babylon, for in a single hour your judgment has come. And the merchants of the earth weep and mourn for her, since no one buys their cargo anymore. Well, cargo of gold, silver, jewels, pearls, etc. So these are, going to happen down the road much more intensely. And I certainly pray that it doesn't happen in my lifetime. Maybe after I'm long gone, maybe, in 70 years' time, then it's okay. But I don't want this to happen in my lifetime simply because it's not a nice period of history. It's not going to be a nice time. So I don't want to be around to see all of that directly happening. But what we do see is that we are beginning to see the birth pangs. This city, Babylon, well, Babylon could only be classified not only as city but as a system as well, a system of financing, a system of how you raise and how you give. That system, we know who controls that system. The powers that be in the world, we know that those powers are not Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is not that power. Come on, let's not be stupid about it. Saudi Arabia is not even close to that power. That power, the center of that power is not Saudi Arabia. If any country is at the center of that power, then it has to be the United States of America and perhaps Europe as a number 2 sing-along, the poodle. So if those 2 countries are part of this system, Babylon, then which is the city? Well, clearly we're not talking about New York or, some other city in America. So we got to understand that this is a parable. It may not be any city. It may just be citing the system. But the parable which is saying kings of the earth, it doesn't necessarily have to be kings of the earth. Sure, kings means leaders in the earth. Because, we don't have the same kingship we used to in the old days. So it's leaders in the earth. And all those countries' leaders today that may be aligned with the US and maybe with Europe and other things going on. Just look at the war in Ukraine. Who's supporting the war in Ukraine with Russia? European leaders and American leaders. Okay? So, which leaders is it speaking about? These guys, of course. Because these are the guys that always involve themselves in war. How many times have you heard that European leaders came together and said, hey, listen, let's stop all the wars, and let's seek peace. Or the American leaders come together and say, hey, let's stop the wars and let's seek peace. Let's all of us seek peace for a change. Let's not fight wars with everybody. Maybe there may be a single leader that says that, perhaps in America, perhaps in Europe, But I haven't seen collectively 10 or 15 leaders come together and say, let's seek peace, let's seek a solution, let's not make it more worse. Instead, what do you hear? Ukraine saying, oh, I've run out of weapons, give me more weapons, give me more money, I need more weapons. America saying that we don't have no more money for you, we'll have to approve some more for you. And so on and on it goes. So, I want you to look at it from that perspective, that Babylon, not only a city, but a system as well. It's both. It's both a city and a system. Who controls the system? Who are these powerful people, individuals, who control this system? It's not going to be one person. It's going to be several people. And if I don't have to put words in your mouth, but I think that you are all clever enough, wise enough, and intelligent enough to guess, who these people could be. But it is interesting that a little nation out of nowhere, America is supposed to be a superpower. A little nation, Yemen, out of nowhere can stand up and, blow ships out of the water and no one can do anything about it. Come on, think about that. Yeah, people say Bible is mythology. People say that Bible is just myth and stories, from the old days. They don't have no truth in them. They're just mythology, legends. People do say that still. But I want you to read the judgment on Edom in chapter 49, because that has never happened, by the way. It never happened. Is wisdom no more in Teman? Has counsel perished from the prudent? Has their wisdom vanished? I think a lot of people even forgotten who Edomites, who is Edom? Who is Edom? Well, Edom it belongs to Isaac, second son of Isaac. What would that make him? What would Edom be if he's second son of Isaac? Is he Arab? No, he's not Arab, because Isaac's second son had no Arabs in his midst. So, if you want to find Arabs, you have to go down to Abraham, not to Isaac. If Isaac is a promised son, which a lot of people believe from the Torah, then sure. If it's a promised son, well, the promised son's also giving you Edom. And there's a judgment against him. Flee, turn back, dwell in the depths of inhabitants of Dedan. For I will bring the calamity of Esau upon him. Well, so Esau is the son, right? So if Esau is the son of Isaac, then start following the line. Who are the Edomites today? The Edomites in 2024 live. They are alive. They are well. They are very prosperous. Who are they? I think that's something that you need to look at and second guess who the Edomites are. I don't need to put it out in public, but I think it's important that you look at who the Edomites are, because there's a judgment standing against them. Verse 10, but I have stripped Esau bare, I have uncovered his hiding places, and he is not able to conceal himself. His children are destroyed, and his brothers and his neighbors, and he is no more. Leave your fatherless children, I will keep them alive, and let your widows trust in me. For thus says the Lord, if those who did not deserve to drink the cup must drink it, will you go unpunished? You shall not go unpunished, but you must drink. So if God's going to bring any kind of stress, worry, punishment, if you want to call it punishment that way, then surely it has to be through other people, right? God's not going to come down here wearing an armor suit and punishing people. God's going to use nations, nation against nation. So what's happening over here? Well, God is using Yemen as a nation to inflict punishment, to inflict pain, to inflict suffering on the so-called billionaires. So that's what I want to focus on. Yemen people are not inflicting pain on ordinary Americans. But the ordinary Americans will feel the pain as well when, if things got out of hand, like if the war broadened and Iran got involved, then of course the Americans can feel the pain as well. But right at this point, Europe is feeling the pain between Russia and Ukraine. Why? Because of the oil and the gas issue. They get their gas going through Ukraine, coming from Russia, so they're in a bind. And if you live in Europe, if you live in UK, you know that if your gas bills are going up twice the price and a half, then you know that what I'm talking about is fact. It's not mythology. You are feeling the pain of the war in Ukraine. If the Ukraine war stops today, and there's a peace treaty between the two nations, then things will rapidly change. Gas prices will drop like a rock. But some people, the so-called billionaires, the people that are in power, they want the prices to remain elevated. They don't care if you are suffering. And if you think they care, they don't. They care about how many dollars they can generate with that, tension. This is how the rich people, the billionaires who are involved in gas business, they want the prices to remain higher. It's like doctors, even though doctors, generally speaking, they don't want, just to be stuck in a pandemic, but doctors were so busy in pandemic and nurses, they probably didn't want the pandemic to go away. Those, I'm not saying every doctor, but those doctors who wanted to make money, they didn't want the pandemic to go away because it was making so much money. The people who were running pharmacies, they didn't want the pandemic to stop because they were selling so many medicines. So unfortunately, human nature, greed, it gets to everybody. Okay, those kind of people. Not that everybody's like that, but it can get to everybody. So I'm giving you a bare minimum picture of what's going on, bare minimum picture, and the rest is unfolding in front of you. All those things about who is a Kohen and who is not a Kohen. Well, do I really care what you think about being a Kohen or not a Kohen? I don't care what you think. But I do care about what I wrote, and I do stand by it, and it is everything I said is true. It's right in front of you. In fact, I've just added some more to it. So this is my point. We've gone far away from those arguments, who is a Kohen and who is not. I think the time has now come is who is a leader and who is not, and who is a great teacher and who is not. That's where we are right now. I want my students to prosper greatly. I want my students to be benefactors of all the blessings that God has bestowed upon us. But here is the problem. The problem is this, that I'm not talking to the majority of you, the minority of you. The minority of you do the things I say, but the majority of you don't. I tell you to tithe, most of you don't tithe. I tell you to give zadaqah, you don't. I tell you to do certain things, you don't. You listen to it like a religious sermon, you go away and do the same thing over and over, but you want different results. You want to be blessed, but you don't want to do the things I tell you to do. Listen, let me give you a little testimony of somebody that I was listening to, Tony Robbins. Now, before going to Tony Robbins, or I should go to Tony Robbins spoke about a time when he didn't have a dollar to his name. Okay? He didn't have many dollars. He was 17 years old. He had no money. He wanted to go to a seminar to better your life, and he had no money. So he went to the bank to get, I think he mentioned $1,200 loan. And no bank would give him the loan because he had no collateral. I think he had a beat-up car, and he had nothing else. He had a broken home. And anyway, so when he went over there, and a lady in the Bank of America, she vouched for him, and she helped him to get a loan. But he did go to the seminar. I think the seminar was $400 or something to that effect, maybe a little bit more. But he got a lot out of the seminar, and then years gone by, one of the people he met in the seminar, he was talking to a person in a flight, in a plane, and he was saying, hey, look at, Tony Robbins, gives $100,000 or whatever for, Food for America as a giveaway, as a charity. And Tony Robbins, of course, is very rich man now, but he wasn't always a rich man. He was at one time a very poor man, but ambitious. And this guy sitting in the plane talking to Tony's friend didn't know that he knew Tony Robbins personally, and so he says to him, yeah, sure, Tony Robbins can give $100,000. He's a multimillionaire. He's got lots of wealth. He's got so many companies, 102 whatever companies. And so, but the man goes to him, listen, Tony wasn't always a multimillionaire. Did you know that I knew Tony when he was 17 years of age, and he came to a seminar and he had to borrow the money from a bank to come to the seminar. He goes, even then, he met somebody on the road, somebody who was really desperate, and he had borrowed money in his hands, and the man needed $200, and Tony gave it to him. Borrowed money. Wasn't his own money. Of course, it was in his hand. He owned it. For that moment, he had to pay it back, but he gave it. So he said, I knew Tony from 17 when he didn't have no money. He had borrowed money to go to a seminar. Even then, he helped somebody who was desperate. Says Tony is that kind of person. So why am I telling you this? When I was 17 years old, 17, 18, around that time, I was on the road. I was, going someplace, and somebody, somewhere along some kind of, maybe it was I had to give some money. It was to do with maybe charity, maybe religious. I don't know. I don't quite remember the exact details, but I remember I had a £5 note in UK in my wallet. That's the only money I had. And somebody came up to me and wanted help on the road. This was on the road, by the way. And they asked me for help, and I opened my wallet, and I only had a £5 note. That was my total week's, money to survive, buy the things I wanted to buy. I don't know, bread, food, whatever. And £5 was a lot of money in those days. I'm talking about going back maybe 25 years ago. 25 years or longer. 30 years ago. And I took the £5 note out and I gave it to the person without even thinking twice about whether I had enough money to live for myself for that week, for that month. And I distinctly remember I had a feeling that was given through what I would only describe as Holy Spirit feeling, where God caused me to give that money like that. And then I remember there was a there was a Hindu family down the road. Later, a couple of years later, there was a Hindu family, and there was an organization called Christian Children's Fund, CCF in UK, and they were collecting money to help Hindu people in India, poor people who only had one meal a day. They worked in the fields, they only had one meal a day, and they had to feed these people. And they were asking for feeding the people, and of course, if anybody can educate their children. And I remember that I went to my family. At the time they were taking about 14 to 15 pounds UK money, about $23. And I went to my family and I said, hey, it impressed on my mind to help those people. And I said to my family, I'd like to help these people. And they said, the first question they asked me is, what is their religion? I said that the family is Hindu. It was a family of mother and father, husband, wife, and they had 2 daughters, and they were working in the fields, and they only had one meal, but they couldn't educate their daughters. They didn't have the money. They could only support one meal a day. So I said to them, this is a poor family. It doesn't matter they are Hindu or not, but they are desperate, they're human, they need help. Maybe we can do that together. But my family refused outright. They said, no, sorry, we won't help them. They're not Muslim, blah, blah, blah. And on it went. And then they say to me, that find a Muslim family and we'll help them. And I said, no, go find yourself. Go find the Muslim family. And I walked away. And then I started to support that family. Out of the income I had back then, I started to support that family. I supported that family for 4 years. That girl, I distinctly remember her and her name, Uma. She became a nurse through my support. And I was so happy the day she became a nurse. And God impressed on me to help that family, and I did help them. Why am I telling you this? Because a lot of you are stingy and mean. And a lot of you that listen to these lectures are nothing but outright disobeyers of God's law. You don't know what God's law is, and you disobey it. Because like I just told you, what you don't do. But then you want to be blessed. You see, you don't do the right thing, but then you want to be blessed. But you don't get blessed. You actually go back 2 steps. Every time you take 1 step forward, you go 2 steps back. And then you wonder why you go 2 steps back is because of your meanness and because of your stinginess and because of you are having your fist closed. When you got your fist closed, you won't open your hand. And I've spoken about the open hand many times in the past, that you got to have an open hand of blessing. If you open your hands of blessing, then God will, because what you're doing is when you're giving money, tithing was a system that God invented to bless us. And when God told you to support the Kohen in the gate, you thought it's only a joke, it's only when a temple is standing. See, you need excuses. You are victims of your own excuses. You just want to be victims. You just want to hear, people tell you, yeah, there's no temple, we don't need to do nothing. See, when you live in those excuses, you will never benefit. You'll always be down on the floor. You'll always be suffering because it'll be your roof leaking. Next time it'll be your tire puncture. Then it'll be your car broke down, then something else. Something will always overtake you because of your excuses, because you're in the victim mentality. And until you come out of that victim mentality, you will never prosper. And until you start to obey God's law and you put it down and say, yes, I'm going to do this. I'm going to tithing for me and for Zadaqah for me is not just giving money, is actually investing. I'm going to invest in myself. And the day you think like that, that will be the day of your change. Until you do, you will be just that person out there who's just a loser, and everybody will be talking against you, and you will never get better in your life. Unfortunately, that will be the 2 cent worth of what I'm telling you. I'm actually prophesying against those of you who are into that situation. You'll never get anywhere. However, there's always room for change. If you change from the person that you are to the person that you want to be, then everything will change for you. Like this. In a second. Things will start to change and the cogs of the wheel will start to turn in the right direction. So you still have the opportunity. You have the opportunity to do the right thing, or you can continue to suffer. And the graveyard is full of people. The graveyard is full of those people who wanted to do something but didn't do it because they were not inclined to, or because they thought, well, now is not the time, or whatever. Graveyards are full of people of hopefuls, and so-called millionaires, or wannabe millionaires and wannabe billionaires, but they never got there because they did not understand that opportunity is available all the time. Not that we have to wait for opportunity to come next year. It's available today. But are we willing to take it? Are we willing to change our mindset from a victim mindset to a winning mindset? Are we people with a winning mindset, or are we people with a victim mindset? And unfortunately, this was a problem that also we saw with the children of Israel. When the children of Israel came out of Egypt, a lot of the people who were 40 plus, or let's say 20 plus, a lot of the people in their 20 plus were people who were victim mindset. But the people who were younger, They were not. Younger people, below 16, those people were not victim mindset. But everybody else above 20 was a victim mindset. Majority of them. And what happened, they had a victim mindset, they had a grieving heart, and they also had what you call procrastination. And then, there's so many things I can put against their name. They refused to believe God, they criticized God, they criticized His leaders, and they were critical of everything. So what happened? God took them round a stretch of land that would have only taken them a few days to cross to 40 years as a punishment for their wickedness and for their victim mindset. God said, okay, carry on going round and round circles. Because your victim mindset, I will punish you right over here. That is what happens to victim mindset people even today. I'm not even talking about the children of Israel back then. Even today you get that punishment. You'll just go round and round in circles and you'll never come out of that circle. Because your victim mindset is stuck with, the white man is bad. Slavery. I was in slavery, and maybe I'm still in slavery. And the rich people are trying to own me. This and that. You're gonna have an excuse for everything. It doesn't matter. You will always have an excuse for not doing the right thing, and that excuse of not doing the right thing is what lands you into trouble. This is why all of you come, not all of you meaning everybody, but majority of you come and go like a yo-yo. 1 minute you're here, next minute you're gone. Then 6 months later you might be here, then you're gone again. I've seen this cycle every 7 years. The cycle of every 7 years of people that come and go that really have a clue about what they're doing in their life and how they're destroying their life and they're destroying their family's life by what they do. So let's stop this and let's ask ourselves, what I'm doing, is it blessing me? Look around yourself. Is it blessing you or is it bringing you down lower and lower? So that will help you understand. Now, I gave some of my students this past week, Tony Robbins, he did a three-day free seminar. And normally, Tony Robbins will probably charge you $400 to $500 for a seminar. I gave the free recordings that he did to some of my students because I felt it had value that will help my students. Because I've spoken to my students about these things in the past. I've given them the exercises. But until you do it and see the result, you may not recognize the benefit or the thing that you have. So I wanted the people to go to Tony Robbins, and he did the same things but in a different mode, and it's exactly the same things that he did, and at least you could see thousands and hundreds of thousands others doing it. So that's why I wanted other people to benefit from that, because you'll actually be doing it with other people. So I said, please, go and see all the 3 days, because they were already recorded and put out. But I said, don't do all 3 days in one session, because you won't be able to, because each session is about 3 to 4 hours. So I said, do it one per day, then 2, then 3, like that, and then there'll be a bonus session, etc. So for the bonus, there was a bonus, but I couldn't find it. I think it disappeared from the internet. They took it down. But then I gave two other recordings, which were like meditation sessions, which I gave to the people, which were very helpful. So, because then you do it with an audience, and it's a different feel. I wanted my students to look and do it with an audience, so they get a different feel. It'll be encouraging for them. So if those of you who don't have that link and want it, let me know. I can send it to you, and you can still be part of that 3-day group people who you will probably benefit and learn something from there. But most of the stuff he talks about is actually biblical. It's not that he's made things up, because he himself is a Christian. He admits he's a Christian, so therefore a lot of the stuff he does is biblical, although he doesn't, he's not going to publicly say that, but that's because people have this problem with God. They don't want to believe God exists. They rather call God universe than God because they have a problem with God. But anyway, that's basically that. But don't worry about it. I'm not saying in a negative way, but Tony's a good guy. But what I'm saying to you is this: open your hands and be giving. Tithe, give Zadakah, look after the Kohen in the gate, and God will bless you tremendously. I'm telling you, God will bless you. God will open your doors, open your roads up, and you will see that God is true to His word. God never lies. God is always true to His word. So please look back at the words of God. Now let's just look quickly at the conquest of Canaan or ancient Israel in Judges 1. We note that it says after the death of Yahoshua, known as Joshua, the people of Israel inquired of Yudhe-Wahe, who shall go up first for us against the Canaanites to fight against them. Then Yudhe-Wahe said, Yehudah shall go up. Behold, I have given him the land into his hand. And Yehudah said to Shimon his brother, come up with me into the territory allotted to me. So what does this actually mean? Sure, in the ancient times, of course, it was that they went and they conquered the land, but what does it mean spiritually? The secondary meaning to this. It says after the death of Yahoshua. Okay, Joshua. Yahoshua, what does Yahoshua mean? It means that God saves. Okay? Yahweh who saves. People of Israel is what? Inquired of Yudhe-Wahe, what? What did they inquire? They inquired that who will go up against the Canaanites. So, what does it mean? It means that when it says Judah, Yehudah will go up, well, what does Judah, Yehudah mean? Yehudah means the ones who praise Yah. So if you're giving God gratitude, it means that if you desire something, here's the meaning behind it. If you desire something and you give gratitude to God, God will bless you. Okay? Number one meaning. You desire something, and behind the term Judah is gratitude, is basically praise of God, blessing God. We sit over here and we bless God. How do we do this? How about I tell you that for 3 minutes, set an alarm on your telephone, and for 3 minutes you continue to bless God. Just bless God. Just give thanks to God. Give thanks to God for everything that you have. Your home, your car, your food, your wife or husband, your children. Whatever that God has given you, just bless Him for that. Thank Him for that. For 3 minutes. You see your life change. Second part, it says, Yehudah says, bring Shimon. Shimon. What does Shimon mean? Shimon means to hear. It's the area of the ear. Remember I told you that the area of the ear is basically the priesthood. Whenever the Bible mentions the ear, it mentions the priesthood. So what does that mean? Listen to the priesthood. Listen to the priesthood. So who is the Kohen in your gate? Listen to him, so that you may prosper. That's what the ear is. It says in there, come up with me into the territory allotted to me, that we may fight against the Canaanites. Means if you have a problem, if you're going through stress, worries, speak to your Kohen. He'll give you the solution. And then it says Yehudah went up, and Yudhe-Wahe gave the Canaanites and the Perizzites into their hand. They won the battle. So the meaning is, when you have a problem, first, give thanks to God, 3 minutes. Second, that if you want to be blessed, it doesn't have to be a problem. It could just be that you want instructions. You go to the Kohen, you ask him, I need some instructions. I want to bless my life. How do I go about doing it? And the Kohen can tell you how to bless your life. And that's why I want you to do that. I want you to remember, by the way, your Kohen in the gate right now is me. I don't know any other Kohen in the gate at this point in history, 2024. Maybe down the road when another one appears, we'll know. But right now there isn't. So show me a Kohen in the gate who told you that United Kingdom, UK and USA will fight together in Middle East. Show me one Kohen who said that. You will not find a single person who said that other than myself. So you know who God has gifted, and you know who's going to guide you. And God's going to bless you tremendously, but if you listen. So I keep telling you to tithe diligently, to follow the commandments of God, and God will bless you. But if you don't, then you will lose your blessing. And if you think that, I'm going to save $100 here, if you're earning $1,000 is your take-home pay, and your tithe is $100, but 10%, and you turn out and say, I'm only going to give $10, then God's not going to bless you because you are stealing from God. God calls that theft. You've taken from God. You haven't given to Him. So when you do that, guess what's going to happen? That $90 that you think you saved, He will take it away from you in another way. He will take it away from you, that's for sure. Maybe, your car broke down. Maybe, your pipe burst in the home. Something happened. And you will lose that 90 plus punishment money. Yeah, there is a percentage on that for punishment too. So why go there? Why go there and do all of that? Don't do that. When you're in a place of blessing, when God is here to bless you, be in a place of blessing and receive the blessing. Don't be like, do things that are going to take away the blessing. Like I said, right, I said to you that the 3 days of Tony Robbins can help you, can bless you, can open up your understanding more. By all means, they're on the internet. Type Tony Robbins Day 1 on YouTube and it will come up. Then do Day 1, then do Day 2, then do Day 3. Be blessed with it. And that's why I want you to do that. Okay? So, other than that, the other update I can give you on the family, there's only one family that we support at this point in time. Because, gone are the days when we were sending money willy-nilly, left, right, center, to Ghana, to Nigeria, to Kenya, to so-called widows who were nothing but a sham. They were not even widows. Orphans that were a sham. They were not orphans. They were just children in the street who had parents, but somebody picked them up and just used them to collect money. We supported people like that in the past. But now, I refuse to support anybody like that. Now, unless I know, unless I see, unless I go to that person's home, I refuse to support people who claim to be widows and orphans. That's where we've come to. So, that we only support one family, and one family with 3 children, who these 3 children go to school. Their school fees, I told you in the past, is around $100. Their monthly bills are around $100, and their food, I think, is a little bit more than $100. I might have said $100, but it's actually a little bit more. I would say food and bills is about $200. So total budget expenditure that we have for them for the month is $400. So please support these people. That's the only one family that I know, that I have personally, been with, seen, and can vouch for, that they are true and they are not, fake children or fake widows or fake, orphans. They're none of that. So you will be blessed with your donations. Your help was kindly appreciated. God will bless you for that. And we continue to do the right thing. We continue to support those that are in need, those that we think, that we know, that we can verify that are in need. That's the only one family that I'll ever support for now. So thank you for that. Those of you send any donations out, thank you. In the past, if you've sent the donations, I have used them in the way I've specified, and nothing's been wasted. In fact, I've given my own money to this family, much more than I've asked you for, because they didn't have a bed. And a bed, costs about $400 over here, around about $370 to $400. Well, I didn't ask you for the bed money, did I? They don't have a table, they don't have chairs. there's other items they don't have in their home, and those are the things that I'm looking for, that I need to help them with as well. But I haven't come to you, but I will ask you for that now. So please do support, so we can purchase these other items. Get a bed, get a table, chairs, and other small items in the home. Things that are of not luxuries, things that are needed. These are not luxuries. These are things that everybody needs. You imagine that you don't have a bed and you sleep on the floor. Think about that. What kind of problems that's going to bring? Homes are not carpeted. The homes are like cement or tile. And imagine a cemented home, how hot it gets in the summer and how cold it gets in the winter. It's only going to generate diseases. It's going to generate cold, influenza. In the summer, it's going to generate other diseases, fevers, because the ground is too hot. So think about it from that point of view. So I want to thank you. Thank you for listening. And those of you who want to have Tony Robbins lectures, I do have the links, and I can provide the links. And if you don't have them on YouTube, if the recording has gone, then let me know. Then maybe I can provide you the recording as well, because I did download them, but they are a little bit big. They're like at least 1 gigabyte in size. Maybe I can find a way to ship them to you through like a large file, FTP or something. But I think you can find them on YouTube at the present time. They're still available. So please, hurry and find them on YouTube. And if you type in Tony Robbins Day 1 2024 free seminar, you will find it. Okay, with that, I have a wonderful, wonderful Sabbath, wonderful week ahead. We will speak more about the goings-on of Middle East next week, and the goings-on of the world in the near term. We will speak about that, how to help you, and I will also speak about ways to bless you, and things that you can do to help yourself. But I want to say this in passing to the end, which I feel is very important. That this is what I want you to do, and I've spoken about this in the past, but I want to speak about it again. This will help you. This will bless you tremendously. In the morning when you get up, if you do any kind of journaling, if you do journaling between 3 to 5, that will have the best effect. Because between 3 to 5, although I may not have explained to you why, but these are the times that your conscious and subconscious are at par. The conscious is not suppressing, not becoming a guard against the subconscious. So what you write will penetrate more. Okay? Between 3 to 5. If you wake up in the morning, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, or whatever time you wake up in the morning, try to get a cold shower. Maybe it's difficult, it's uncomfortable to do it every day, but I encourage you to do it at least 2 to 3 times a day, week. At least twice a week, if not every day. One of the things that Tony Robbins mentioned was that he has a cold shower every morning. He goes, it's very uncomfortable, but I do it because what he didn't explain in that little video recording was what it actually does. So what it actually does for you, I'll explain to you what it does. What it does for you is it will reset your nervous system. Cold shower will put the body into fight and flight mode. In other words, the body will suddenly become cold, the nervous system will become cold, it'll go into fight mode. Okay? Flight or fight. Survival mode. It'll go into survival mode. And it will open up the gates in the body that are otherwise closed. And now, once you do your shower, this is the second part you're going to do. You're going to do a cold shower. And like I explained to you last time, that maybe it's too much for you, too much uncomfort. Then what you do is you have your warm shower and your last 1 minute, your last 1 to 2 minutes, totally cold shower. Put it on full cold. Turn it to full cold and just take a cold shower over you for 1 to 2 minutes. Once you do that, you wipe yourself clean and you wear your clothes in the bathroom And then what I want you to do is I want you to give thanks. I want you to give thanks for 3 things in your life, for maybe a couple of minutes. I want you to also, for 3 minutes, I want you to love yourself. Yes, you tell yourself that you love yourself. You can speak it in a rhythm, you can speak it normally, but I would encourage you to speak it in a rhythm, because then, like a singing, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself, then it'll be easier for you. So you do that for 3 minutes. The third part of the exercise, I want you to pick a moment in your past, not past, let's go to the future. You want to bring future to the present. I want you to pick 3 things that you desire in your present. Maybe you desire a car, maybe you desire a sum of money, maybe there's a problem, maybe there's healing. So any of those things that you desire, pick 3 things. And so you're going to close your eyes and you're going to give thanks for the first thing that comes to your mind and imagine it's done. Give thanks and imagine it's done. Second thing, give thanks, imagine it's done. Third thing, give thanks, imagine it's done. Spend at least 3 minutes in your imaginative act. When your eyes are closed, imagine that you have that thing for at least a minute plus. So we need, your central nervous system, your subconscious, to be at least get a good imprint for 32 seconds to a minute. So make sure that your imaginative act, the picture that you see, is at least 30 seconds to a minute long. So it gets a good print of what it needs to do for you. And like if you're looking for a job, you're unemployed, you're looking for a job, you want to close your eyes and imagine that you have that job you desire, whatever the salary you desire. Imagine you have it. Close your eyes, imagine you have it. Give thanks. Thank you for this job. Thank you, Abba. Thank you, Father, for giving me this job. I have it. Thank you. So you want to imagine that, and you will do well. So follow this routine every day. And if you can't do it every day, because it's too much, then at least do it for 3 times a week. Okay? 3 times a week. Have a wonderful week, wonderful Sabbath. Shabbat Shalom, and Shalom Shalom to you.